Hey guys, what's good? Cybermage here. Welcome back to another video. And in this one, we are going to be doing SSRF to Pwned. So I would say the main learning point in this lab is kind of identifying SSRF vulnerabilities. If you go over here to the learning outcomes, you can see that um, like we've done all of this before. Bucket enumeration, we've done all of this, but the main thing here is SSRF identification. And the one place that we're going to be using, or the place in this lab, is going to be a parameter in the URL, which can be exploited. And if you're not familiar with what SSRF is, it's basically tricking a website into making requests to another resource, which the attacker should not be allowed to. I guess that's the best way of putting it. But yeah, it's going to be a short video, so let's get into it by reading the scenario first. Rumors are swirling on hacker forums about a potential breach at Huge Logistics. Your team has been monitoring these conversations closely, and Huge Logistics has asked you to assess the security of their website. Beyond the surface level assessment, you're also to investigate links to their cloud infrastructure, mapping out any potential risk exposure. The question isn't just if they have been compromised, but how deep the rabbit hole goes. So yeah, let's get started and copy this URL and check out this website. So the first thing we would usually want to do when we have a website is browse it as a completely normal user, clicking everything out here. We can see if you click this, nothing comes. We can take a look at this left bottom area over here to see where a button goes to. So if we hover over this, we can see that it says index.html. And that's exactly where it went to. Should turn off burp over here. And that's where it went to. We can click on About Us. Goes nowhere. Same page. Services. Nothing. Drop down. Nothing. Contact. Nothing. And status. Nothing. But we can see, we do have something for status. We can see at the bottom left that it says status.php, which does seem interesting. So let's click this. And we arrived over here to Huge Logistics Service, the service status. If we click check, we can see it's making some API, it's making some type of, or it's running some type of code actually. And it's giving all this detail over here about a website and APIs, operational, client portal, operational, and yeah. And we can see the URL changes and it says hugelogisticsstatus.com. So it's going to some website. Now, because it's going to some website and it's making a request to it, we can assume that it's making a request to this specific website. We are able to trick this the service into making a request to another website or another service if it does not sanitize our input or has any protection. Yeah. But before we go ahead and do that, it's a good idea not to overstep it and just completely just go through this and start like this. We should first enumerate everything properly. So let's go back to the main page over here and let's take a look at the source code. So going through this, we do note some emails over here. We could actually save this. And over here as well, it does show that status.php file exists. And we also notice that there's this bucket over here, huge logistics storage.s3. If we click this, it goes to this file. So we know now the images on this website are stored in this S3 bucket. Let's go ahead and curl this to get the region. So we can do curl I and pretty much this. And we can see over here that the region, let's go ahead and close this and just go straight over here. Perfect. So it says here over the bucket region US East 1. So we should take a note of that. And yeah, let's continue on and see what else we can find. Yep, and nothing else. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside this bucket. So let's do AWS S3 ls and just put this in here. Remember, it's just the bucket name, so we can remove all of this and remove all of this. We want to check cursive, and I believe it's no sign request. So we're doing like an anonymous request to this bucket to see if we can gather some stuff. And we do see a bunch of files in here. And we do have this flag.txt. Let's try and get this flag.txt. So S3, copy, and this is our command right over here. Backup flag.txt, and we want to copy it to here. Let's do no sign in request as anonymous. And we get forbidden. So we're going to have to find a user who's able to access this. Unfortunately for us, since we do have this potential area over here in the header that could be vulnerable to SSRF, we can use this to actually query the metadata service and get some credentials, right? Let's first try to see if there's any instance profiles attached to this. So let's go ahead and try this command over here for this location. So it's going over here. We didn't put the HTTPS over here because as the server was working, it probably put HTTPS over here by itself automatically. So we can just go straight in and put this. And we're checking to see if MDS, I believe it's version 1. Yep. This is using version 1. And which doesn't require a token to access. And we can confirm it by actually just, curling or querying this. So let's go ahead and see what we get. And we do get a bunch of directories over here. So yeah, let's go ahead and see if it has any instance profiles attached to it. We can go to this location here. And we do have this instance profile called Pwned S3 access. So just by the name, we can assume that it has access to the S3 bucket. Let's go ahead and try to credentials of this. And there we go. And we now have the access key, secret access key, and the token. So we're able to do this mainly because it's MDS version 1. I believe that's how you call it. Yeah. Yeah, MDS version 1. Yeah. This one is version 1, which doesn't require any authentication or any token for that. So yeah, that's why we can just do this directly. Else we would have to query another endpoint, get that token, and attach it to our command. And yeah, we wouldn't be able to do this that easily because we would have to add some more headers and stuff to it. So I don't think it would work. Or there's just going to be a bunch of bypasses. It really depends on what command is specifically running here and what protections are placed. And yeah, so let's go ahead and do AWS configure. We're going to place the access key here. And this is the secret access key. So just take all of this. And for the region, we can just put the US East one that we found. Now we can copy all of this. do AWS configure set AWS underscore session token STS get caller identity to see if everything worked, and everything worked pretty well. Let's try to run this command again, but this time without this option. We want to use our credentials, and we were able to download it. And let's check it out. And that is it. So yeah, if you guys didn't understand what SSRF vulnerability is, basically over here, as it was querying website, we just redirected the this website, right? This service, huge logistics service status, to another endpoint instead of the one that it was originally doing, in order to get this, all of this, in order to get the credentials of this role or the instance profile that this service is using. And yeah, that is pretty much it. And one of the things to note, I actually wrote this over here. It was from the Pwned Labs area at the bottom of this. Over here. And I just like took out some main points from here, the defense part, which was if instance metadata is needed, it's recommended to use version 2 as this requires authentication. And the point to note is that regardless, even if version 2 is enabled, we can still gain credentials stored in the instance if we have access to the EC2 instance. So it's, doesn't really stop us as long if we gain access to the EC2 instance. And also another thing to note is that from mid 2024, newly released Amazon EC2 instance will only use version 2 of the EC2 instance metadata service. So it's going to go ahead and only use version 2, but the point to note is that prior to the AWS changing the default behavior, version 1 and 2 of instance metadata service would still be available by default unless specified otherwise when creating EC2 instance. So if no changes are made and it's still, a lot of things are still deployed by companies on Amazon before or AWS before 2024, it would still potentially use version 1 and 2 unless specified otherwise. So this attack is still very possible. Version 1 is still available in many cases. So yeah, that's it for this video, and take care, guys.